welcome to Between the Cleats with me, Courtney Combs, and my co-host Teal on the Demon Seed Radio Network. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Courtney, and thanks for having me on. You know what? I'm a curious guy by nature too. Before we get any further, how did you and Tommy get hooked up?
I met Tommy through a friend of mine in California, my friend Roxy Reynolds. And ever since then, we've been buddies. And come to find out, you're going to think this is crazy, but, you know, he might be one of my late cousins.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that
exactly
the craziest thing?
Yeah, that's right.
I did not know this until like 6 years after being his friend, because where my family, I was born in West Virginia, and apparently some of my family is from Ohio. It's a long story, but it's weird, right? Isn't that the craziest thing in the world?
It is. It's a small world when you get right down to it. I'm a Buckeye, you know. I'm an Ohio guy.
Are you really?
Yeah, Cincinnati, born and bred.
Oh, did you know anything about the Hatfield and McCoys?
Yeah, something like that. You don't have West Virginia. You've lost that West Virginia twang.
Yeah, I haven't lived there for like about 15 years. So yeah, but anyway, how did you get started in pro wrestling, Mr. Les?
Wow, I have been a fan since I in front of a little black and white 10-inch TV screen. At a neighbor's house years ago. I was between 8 and 9 years of age, and just became fascinated. And as I grew up, I was a jock. Played baseball, football, basketball, and wrestled to YMCA. And just I don't know, decided that this is something I'd like to try. And so it was a closed shop back then, and it was hard to get your foot in the door. And so I finally read about I guess probably the first wrestling school in the country, Tony Santos, promoter in Boston. And I had seen an article in Wrestling Review magazine, which was the big newsstand publication of the Times. And, it mentioned that they would, take young athletes and hopefully train them to be professional wrestlers. So I sent them a letter. They sent me back a little trifold brochure. And so in February 1960, I was 19 years old. I got on the bus in Cincinnati and went to Boston. And my gosh, as they say, the rest is history. July 4th of this year will be my 57th anniversary in this goofy business. So.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. What wrestler was your favorite to work with, and what wrestler was your favorite
oh my God!
team with?
There's so many. Courtney, I really feel blessed that through my in-ring career, which was spanned 20 years from 1960 to 1980, I had a chance to work with most of the world champions, junior heavyweight champions. Honestly, I don't know if I could say there were so many talented artists in the business at that point in time. And I don't know, as a kid, I had the chance to work with the original Sheik, Dick the Bruiser, Fritz von Erich, the Funks, the Briscoes, Ric Flair, my goodness, on and on and on. So I don't, my childhood, if there's really something that if I have a regret, my childhood idol was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. And during my in-ring, I never got the opportunity to meet him or to work or to wrestle with him. And if there's something that I feel I've missed out on, that would be it, because of course he was one of the greats of all time. And so that would be something that I didn't get a chance to do, but he was my childhood idol.
So what did you love about Knoxville, Tennessee, and a place where you used to live and work for so many years? Did you love it, or was it a stepping stone for you?
Nashville was, it was a lot of fun. It was to be around the country music thing. It wasn't a huge tourist attraction at the time. I lived in Nashville part of 68, 69, and a short time in 1970, and it was a lot of fun to get to know some of the country artists. It was there was kind of a crossover then. You know, some of them were wrestling fans, and I was around there at the beginning of the outlaw movement with Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and that sort of thing. And of course, you know, a lot of that music, you know, back in the day, in our business in wrestling, we were on the road, you know, if you're on 6 nights a week or in 6 different towns. And so our business in that respect paralleled the country music artists as well. You know, they were on the buses hitting a different town every night. And so with a lot of the Willie and Waylon and Hank Jr. and
I love Hank.
Yeah, Christopherson. Do you follow Chris?
I'm not familiar with that name, but Tio, I'm sure Tio.
Yeah, his biggest song is "Why Me, Lord." He was really good.
You know, when I was growing up, my grandma used to play those 8 tracks, you know, and that's how I know some of that music.
Yeah, well, Christopherson wrote a lot of "Help Me Make It Through the Night," "For the Good Times," on and on. But yeah, you know, all those guys, their songs about living on the road and what they did on the road, you know, paralleled our lives a lot too. So it was a lot of fun. You know, I think, you know, this year I'll be 77 years old, and I think I've lived enough life for 3 or 4 people, really. And of course, one of the colorful people that I've had the opportunity to work with and a brilliant mind in our business was one that where Tommy and I met when I worked with Smoky Mountain Wrestling for Jim Cornette.
Oh, yeah. He loves that guy.
Well, I do.
Yeah, he always speaks of him. But what was the best thing about Tommy, like, ring announcing? Like, what was your favorite thing about having him there? Because I've seen the videos of Tommy, and see, I don't see Tommy as a ring announcer because I know him, like, differently, but he did a pretty good job from my perspective.
Well, he was serious. He took the, you know, I think that's something that more like the old guard, or what can call in our business old school, is we took everything seriously, and that was one of the things. Of course, if you worked with or for Jimmy, you either took it serious or we weren't there. That was pretty much the deal. And I think Tommy would agree. It was, and probably for him as a young guy, it was probably a great learning experience because there were a lot of good talents there at the time. Wouldn't you think, Tom?
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I learned so much from Jim, just from the production side of it, too, because he would come over to my house and I had a studio in my basement, and that's where we cut all the promos. And